I'd like to share with you an assortment of ideas I've come to refer to recently as data science for sustainability. My perspective is as the lead of the data science team at EcoFactor, about which more in just a minute, and also as the organizer of a meetup group called Data Science for Sustainability. I should commend you, by the way, on the turnout today. You put the San Francisco Cleanweb meetup to shame. You really do.
500 strong.
Let me begin by defining my terms. There's been a lot of hype about data science, so maybe you've heard it all before. But generally, what people mean by data science is a discipline that involves a lot of data, some combination of statistics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so forth. A bunch of software engineering. I mean, when you're dealing with terabytes and petabytes, that's a given. And then some core domain expertise. So in Silicon Valley, that's often online search or sentiment analysis or social graph and that kind of stuff. Whereas my interest, your interest maybe, in the domain of sustainability, by which I mean the capacity to endure. So my interest and the interests of the attendees of my meetup are interested in bringing these various facets together to address issues of sustainability. And I'm going to give you some examples now. I'm going to fly through this example. I'll tell you first about EcoFactor, the place where I work and have worked for 3 years now. EcoFactor is based on the premise that the average US home uses about half of its energy annually to heat and cool its space. So that's not even including water heating, that's just the air. So that's about $1,250 a year just on heating and cooling space. And that $1,250 is largely controlled through just one or two devices in each home, the thermostat. So it's quite a contained system, and there's a lot of money at stake. And yet the thermostat is quite a dumb device. And an analogy that one of our founders often makes is he compares the thermostat to the VCR, right? Everybody's got one, and very few people have ever written manual. Nobody ever bothered to program the time on their VCR. Nobody really bothers to program the time on their thermostat. So they're wasting a bunch of energy by cooling their home when they're actually away, or having very coarse settings. So maybe they want a certain temperature when they go to bed, when they actually fall asleep, but perhaps could do with less heating or cooling thereafter. So that's where we come, and the way it works is we're an analysis company, so we don't build any hardware, we're not a networking company or anything like that. We're just an analytics company. We have algorithms that sit in the cloud and collect data from the thermostat and from the surrounding conditions, the weather in particular. Pull all that data onto our servers, a lot of it, process that, and send back to the thermostat some form of optimized control. So the user's still very much in charge of their thermostat. They can override what we do at any point, but by default, the thermostat is running our program. So I'm going to now try and explain to you why EcoFactor is a data science for sustainability company. I'm going to take that first, talk about the sustainability side, and then the data, and then the science. So from the sustainability side, this might be obvious, but we break down our product into three key functions. We have daily energy efficiency, just shaving off bits from your energy bill minute by minute, all through the year. So that would be using the data to infer the times of day when you're at work, or days of the week you are at work, and turning down your air conditioner when you're away. Or recognizing that although you're very particular about the temperature when you first wake up in the morning, you have slightly more flexibility later on in the day, even if you are home. So we save people energy through that kind of inference, that kind of optimization. We also provide load shaping, because we actually sell our product. We don't sell our product directly to end consumers. We sell through channel partners, the big cable companies, the utilities and so forth. And the utilities are particularly interested in shaping the load that they have on their grid. So one of our biggest public projects is with Nevada Energy, and the city of Las Vegas in particular has a real problem where people arrive home at 4 p.m., turn on their air conditioner, and if you look at the distribution of load over the day, you see this huge spike at 4 p.m. And Nevada Energy have to keep power stations running 24 hours a day throughout the summer just to meet that load. Whereas with a two-way communicating thermostat and our optimized control, we can shape that load. We can move some of it to earlier in the day so that you have less of a peak at 4 p.m. and that allows them to shut down entire power stations. And the third thing that we do is diagnostics. So probably even informed folks like yourself wouldn't really be able to spot a well-functioning furnace from a furnace that's operating at 80% efficiency. I wouldn't be able to. But if you've got a lot of data and mindless algorithms that don't mind crunching that data, then you can find those furnaces. And you can save people a chunk of energy by doing that. So in order to inform all of these algorithms and these products, we collect a bunch of data. So for one thermostat, we're talking about 10,000 data points per day, and in return making about 50 adjustments ballpark. But we're building for the residential sector, and we don't begin to make money unless we can support 1 million thermostats over many years. So I'll leave you to do the maths here, but it turns into a scary amount of data and a lot of adjustments. So a lot of the challenge here is actually in the platform. It's all on Hadoop, of course. Building something that can scale this far. Let me tell you a little bit about the science that we build on top of that. So we're out there to save energy. And there are involved business plans around that. But as a data scientist, particularly one that came from physics most recently, it all boils down to just one optimization problem, regardless of what the business development guys say. It's all essentially just minimizing the dollars that are spent on heating and cooling, subject to various constraints in comfort. With the additional challenge that you have to build algorithms that can do that for any home at any moment in time. So we're unlike a lot of the other services, particularly in the commercial sector, where you have mechanical Turks who are eyeballing charts and trying to work out optimized control. This is all entirely black box, because we are building an infrastructure for 1 million homes. So it's a big, juicy optimization problem. It's one that's confounded by these various other factors that we don't necessarily measure. We don't know explicitly whether our homeowners are sleeping. We don't know whether Granny is staying and what effect that might have. It might be that the fact that it's a Monday today has an effect on your preferences. You might be particularly susceptible to the humidity. So it's a big, juicy optimization problem, and there's a lot of unknowns. So the only way to make this tractable is, as I said, to collect a lot of data and apply learning algorithms to that. So there's no ab initio solution you can just roll out for every home. You have to learn the solution for each home. And then the other thing is you have to take this big optimization problem, you have to break it down into lots of smaller problems to make it more tractable. And one quite useful way to think about that breakdown of the problem is on this spectrum of physical problems and behavioral problems. So on the physical side of the spectrum, you've got things like fault detection, diagnostics. So working out whether, spotting a faulty air conditioner is almost entirely a physical problem. On the other side of the spectrum, you've got these optimizations that you can make that are almost entirely behavioral. Working out what the set point should be. Should the thermostat be working to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, or whatever that is in Celsius. I've lost my Englishness in that respect. 72 Fahrenheit or 70 Fahrenheit. You know, that's almost entirely a behavioural question. Not entirely. And then you have this really cool middle ground, actually, of problems that are both physical in nature and behavioural in nature. So the question of demand response, which is another name for load shaping. That's a physical problem in the sense that if we're going to turn off your air conditioner during this peak period that Las Vegas is guilty of, we need to know about your home, we need to know about your air conditioner, the physical side of the system. We also need to know how the homeowners will respond to us messing with their thermostat at 4 p.m. So it gets kind of interesting there. So in a bit more detail, I'll just give you a flavour of what we actually do on a data science team. This is on the physical side of that spectrum. As far as we're concerned, we have this black box that vomits data into the ether. And it's our challenge to try and work out what's in that black box, to try and build a picture of whatever's there. And we can use that picture then to inform our load shaping algorithms, inform our fault diagnostics. If you have a model of a house, then it helps spot the case where somebody's left their window open. The house is not performing as the model said it should, so you can send them a text and say, check your windows. On the other side of the spectrum, we have this behavioural question: how our homeowners are interacting with our service. And one very simplistic way to think about homeowners is as a dial that can swing between savings on the one hand and comfort on the other. That's an extraordinarily simplistic picture. It's more nuanced than that. But the dial can change, right? Your dial might be in a rather different place to your neighbour's dial, and moreover, your position here might well change with the seasons and even with the time of the day. So it's our challenge at EcoFactor to try and anticipate where this dial is going to be and be able to provide for it. So if you're amenable to savings at noon on a Tuesday, then we should be there providing savings. But likewise, if at 4 p.m. on Tuesday you really need it to be 70 degrees, then we need to know that. And we need to anticipate it, because it might well take an hour to get your house back down to 70 degrees. I'm missing the slides here, it seems, but so we do. So this is the EcoFactor world. This is where the algorithms live, and that's the real world. And you have within our data feed, there are various things that are immediately useful for making this inference. Whether somebody's interacted with their thermostat in the past is very valuable information. What they're currently doing on their smartphone, again, very useful. And then there's a lot of these unobservable areas. There's the question of the day of the week and whether Granny is staying, like you say. Those things can really mess you up, and you need to build algorithms that at least appreciate their own fallibility. So that's what we do at EcoFactor. But I thought, since I have come some way, I would share with you some other stuff that's happening in the States that, at least in my book, would be classed as data science for sustainability. You might have heard of a lot of these companies, so forgive me if you haven't, but OPower is a huge one in particular. Anybody heard of them? Yes. All right, for the rest of you then. OPower provides an insert that goes along with your monthly utility bill. So in addition to just being told that you owe the bill, you owe the utility $50, you will also be told how much you consume in relation to your neighbours, both your average neighbour and your energy efficient neighbour. You'll be told how your monthly bill has varied over the last 12 months. You'll be given some kind of personalised recommendation about what you might do with your thermostat. So it's extraordinarily simplistic. I mean, it's data science. It's It's not particularly impressive data science, frankly. The only statistics involved here are averages. But it definitely gets a lot of data. These guys are working with 80 utilities around the world, I think, at this point. And they have a clear effect. They've done controlled studies, very elegant controlled studies, where they show they're saving 2% just by showing people this kind of information and turning it into a little bit of a competition with your neighbours. Clockwork and Bitchley are kind of in the same area in the sense that they're hitting the residential market, but they're trying to do a little bit more. They're doing non-intrusive load monitoring, which means that from measuring the load at the whole house level, you can work out what's actually within that house. So if you Google image non-intrusive load disaggregation, which I did a few hours ago, you get a very pretty picture like this, where you can see if you plot frequency against the time, which I take to mean the periodicity of these appliances, then you can distinguish the washer from the CFL lamp from the TV. So what these guys are trying to do, well, Bitchley in particular, what they're trying to do is they're trying to provide far more detailed, personalized recommendations. So you should go and buy a new fridge because it will save you $44 over the next year. Clockwork, they do provide a service for the residential sector, but it seems that they've staked their future on the small, medium enterprises, in particular restaurant franchises, where the utility bill can well be in the order of thousands of dollars a month. And so there's a lot more money to be made there, and that's where Clockwork is going, it seems. But they're both kind of the same in the sense that they're trying to give you a picture of what's going on inside from a rather coarse data feed of what the house or the restaurant looks like from the outside. Building IQ, Q-coefficient, and a few other folk in a space that's pretty similar to EcoFactor, except that they deal exclusively with commercial buildings, whereas we're residential. So a commercial building might well have tens, hundred thousands of square feet of floor space, might well be spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on utility bills. So there's a lot of money there. It's a relatively stable system, relatively stable usage patterns, a lot of degrees of freedom. The kind of machinery that goes into maintaining a building like this, for example, is relatively involved. So it gives them a lot to play with. So they can do some really, really elegant stuff to reduce the monthly utility bill in these big downtown buildings. The kind of stuff they can do, for example, is they can optimize your heating and cooling to a time of use plan, a particular time of use plan. The savings are really very impressive once you do that. It's not strictly energy, or it's only indirectly related to energy. But on Thursday this week, at our meetup, we're hearing from Professor Matthew Dixon, who's been using cell phone data collected in Nigeria, I think that's Nigeria, to analyze mobility patterns and use that to then inform transport plan. So a kind of broad interpretation of saving energy. I'll be able to let you know more about that after Thursday. And this is my coup de grace. This is the best one yet. I'm going to end on this one. iCow is collecting data from cows to optimize